You have 300,000 boys playing soccer. You have 300,000 girls playing soccer. We left half of our potential sports base behind. And then women's have had a world championship since 1987. We've been participating since 89. I think my years are right there.
Mhm.
And only just now we're still got states that don't have high school wrestling 30 years later for girls. So if we would have not been this whole it's a man's thing, or having that male ego bravado about women's wrestling 35 years ago, when everybody else, all the soccer coaches, and they were creating softball, and we were creating all these other opportunities that the boys had, and we're saying, okay, and I'm not talking about Title IX with the college sports. I'm talking
No,
about at the fields outside in
youth.
your park. What are there? There's soccer fields. Who plays on them? Boys and girls. We kept the wrestling mats away from the girls for so long. Sure, they can be a mat maid, they can be a cheerleader, they can be a manager, but that was it. I mean, back in the day, the girl wrestling was the freak show story. That was like you were
Right.
like, oh no, that's
Yeah.
look at her, and that's the one thing. If we would have done that 30 something years ago, and again, it's all anecdotal. I don't think we'd have lost the amount of college programs that we've had across the board, Division One all the
Mhm.
way down to the NAI and junior colleges. I think we'd have more girls that were willing to put their girls into a combat sport. I think by and large, women's MMA would have exploded even bigger than it is now. I think there's a
Mhm.
lot of things that could have happened if we would have not been so stuck in the mud 35 years ago to say no, the girls are over here, boys only, boys wrestle. Terry Steiner
Sure.
says it too, that why the sport's so great, it teaches us a lot of things. Why do we keep it from half the population? So that right there, in hindsight, 30 something years ago, we really should have embraced the girls then and there. We're kind of making up for the sins of our fathers at this point.
Mm.
The NAI had a championship sport now for 3 years. The NCAA obviously being the big blue disc, that's what moves the needle. But that's one thing I can look at, because then you would potentially double the amount of fan base you have that are now 30 years into it. I joke that nobody's grandma wrestled. We're almost
Yeah.
getting out of that. I mean, I think
Sure.
Trisha Saunders, I don't know if she's got grandkids yet, but Christy
But
Davis,
we're close,
yeah, we're
right?
close.
We're,
We're
we're
close to
close.
that. Whereas like Jake Pataxel, for example, his grandfather was an NCAA champion in the 50s.
Right.
So we lose a generation in a sport that's it's familial based. Like nobody in my family wrestled.